Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Wealth and Wisdom with Fred Belcastro from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Friday, November the 18th, the year 2016. And now, here he is, Mr. Fred Belcastro.
You're smiling when you're smiling, and the whole world smiles with you. And when you're laughing, oh, you're laughing. When the sun comes shining through. When you're crying, you bring on the rain. Stop your sighing. Won't you be happy again? When you're smiling, keep on smiling. And the whole world.
Good morning and welcome to the Wealth and Wisdom program. My name is Fred Belcastro, your host, and during the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about using wisdom to grow and protect our wealth. You, of course, are listening to us on the Jack FM radio station, 89.7 WRHS, out of Norwich, Illinois. And, of course, we're fortunate to be able to broadcast from the John DeVita Broadcast Center here on the northwest side of Chicago. You've heard me in the past talk about 401ks and the questions that come into us during the week. And that phone number during the week is area 630-673-4360. Or if you prefer, and it's of course interesting, to write me a note and email me at fbelsecure@aol.com. That's FBELSECURE@AOL.com. And what I get from individual listeners from time to time is how much should I contribute to my 401k? 401k. Since 1978, that's what people are talking about, the IRAs. When it came on the market, it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then we have, along with that, we talk about planning your IRA, planning your 401, what's a Roth, and then the bromides come out. The advisors that we listen to tell us that nobody plans to fail. You just fail to plan. How about that? Have you heard that before? And then I say, and I come along and tell you, nah, you plan. People plan. We know what we're doing, but we just plan all wrong. And why do we plan all wrong? Because of information? No, not because of the information, not because of the studying, the research that we do, or we plan incorrectly because of the information that's given to us is wrong. Many times is misinformation, and I did a whole show about a year and a half ago on the misinformation that we get. And then it was brought to my attention something from the U.S. News and World Report. I'm going to read you a small paragraph from the U.S. News and World. Well, wait a second. We see the U.S. News and World. We read material, right? We believe everything we read. We know it's the truth. Hey, listen, I might as well believe it. This misinformation is coming from me from a professional on the radio. He must know what he's talking about. This is something I've read, and they must know what they're talking about, they're writing about. This is the U.S. News and World Report from February of 2015. And let me read a small paragraph of what's stated here. And I'm reading, because of the tax treatment, employer-sponsored plans are a good deal, comma, and become even better when the employee offers a match on some percentage of savings, period. I go on to read, an employee should never forego an employer match, and then the name, and I'll leave the name out, comma, and here's the statement, the quote, even if they think they can't afford it, it's such a no-brainer to contribute up to that match, period. You ready for this? Get ready. Hold on, because he goes on to say, the expert goes on to tell us, It's a 50% to 100% automatic investment return, he says. End of quote. Wow. When I hear that, I get all excited. How to make a 50% return, even if it was only a half of that, even if it's not 100%, let's go with a quarter of a 25% return. How are you going to beat that? These employee matches at 4. Wow. And I say, hey, listen, did we arithmetically or mathematically verify that? Can we hold their feet to the fire, so to speak, and get this information clear? Come on, we've just gone through an election with both sides saying everybody's right and everybody's wrong. We know that there's a lot of information that we have available to us, but how much of it is right? And how do we prove or disprove it? Well, we'll just pardon my back for a moment and let me get over to the blackboard. But I don't even have to go to the blackboard. Listen, you've got a laptop, you got a tablet, you got an iPad. Let's figure this out for ourselves. 50 to 100% return on the employer's contribution. You got to be kidding. Let's take a look, because that's not how it works. That's not the most important part of your 401. I'm not talking about. All I'm talking about is the arithmetic. That doesn't play the major factor in your 401 and in the amount of dollars you're going to have at every period of time in which you start withdrawing, making those required minimum withdrawals. Oh, yeah, they get you there, don't they? But let's just take a look at the tax brackets, because my statement is that the tax bracket plays a bigger role in the amount of your dollars. First, let's take out the company match so we can see what's really happening and go on to analyze it. Here's someone now. They're going to earn 6% on the return. We're going to look at 3 10-year periods. First 10 years, they're in a 30% tax bracket. Second 10, third 30%. We're going to all across the board. And we would say then if they're earning 6% on their dollars for the next 30 years, their average is going to be 6%. But that's not how they started. Let's say, and it's true, you'll average 6%. But let's say realistically that when we start out in our 401 or IRAs, we're in a 10% bracket. And then we make a little bit more money, we're in a 20% bracket. And then finally, in the last 10 years of our working years, we're in a 30% bracket. And then when we go to withdraw this money, we're one of the lucky ones, we're one of the fortunate ones that can take our money out at the same bracket we were in when we were working. So let's make an assumption that we're in a 30% tax bracket. Now, what's that do with the returns? As you see, by the 10 to 20 and the 30%, it takes our 6% return down to 5.06. It's arithmetic. It's not investment. You don't need a Series 6 or Series 7 to be able to calculate this. It's arithmetic. It drops our rate of return back to 5.06. Now, what happens if you're in a 40% bracket at the end? So if we change our withdrawals, remember we were at 30% and we got a 5.06. How about if we're in a 40% tax bracket? Do you know what we're down to? 4.23. That's a little less than 4.25%. So we've gone from 6% to 4.25%. How did we do that? We didn't do anything. The government changed the tax bracket. Can they do that? Well, come on. You know they can. Will they do that? I don't know. Do they need money? Do you still think it's a good place to be putting your money? All right. I know I said I'd talk about the employee match. Let's have a company match. Let's go with the same $10,000 a year, and let's match that by $5,000. So that's 50 cents on the dollar up to $5,000. So that's a total of $15,000. We're going to keep the investment return at 6%. And the tax brackets will be the same. There'll be 10% for the first 10 years, 20% for the next 10 years, 30% for the following years. And then when we withdraw the dollars, we're in a 30% tax bracket. Now, if you're trying to earn a 6% return on that contribution with a match and the lower earlier tax brackets, that match helps to improve the final rate of return. Now, it's not 25%, 50%, or 100%. Come on, get your head out of the sand. It brings it up 83 basis points. That's 6.83. It's a little more than 6.75%. All right, 83 is the amount of basis points or percentage. So we're at 6.83%. We didn't double our money. We didn't make 50% of our money by a company match of $5,000. You see, where do you get those figures? Where do you get this information? Now, this so-called expert would tell you that you're going to get another 50 or 100%, and then I tell you, no, you're going to make maybe 0.75% better. That's all it means. You say, well, see, how could Fred know what he's talking about? Listen, you've got a computer, you've got a pad. Put the numbers down. Do the compound interest. It's a simple calculation. All right, let me go. That was a 30% withdrawal. If we're still improving our rate of return by of the 6% with that company match, but in this example, using that, the best years to contribute to the plan was in the last 10 years because of the tax brackets being the same. But let's see what they do. Let's go to a 40% bracket at withdrawal. What's going to happen? It's going to decrease the effective return. So you see, it's going to reduce the effective return from 6.83 to 6.26, or just a little over 6.25%. So without the match, you're going to receive 6%. With a 6% annual compounded return, which you may or not be able to get anyway. And with the company match, if they just increase the rate of withdrawal by 10%, 40% instead of 30%, you're going to wind up with a little over 6.25%. So where's the big gain? You see, and when we talk about tax brackets, you think you're going to be in the same tax bracket, the same marginal bracket you were in when you retire, that you were in during your working years? Most people will say, well, how do you know? I don't know. Take a look at the history of taxes. Give us some great insight. You've got to do a little bit of research or listen to our program here on 89.7 once a week. And if you listen to us, you won't have to do all the research. I'll do some of it for you. But the information that I'll give you will be mathematically verifiable. I'm not going to ever talk about a pie in the sky. In fact, that's one of the things that just bothers me so about a lot of the information that we get, both in the newspaper, in the print, and from well-meaning publishers. U.S. News and World. I've read that magazine for years. Why? Why do you get this misinformation? Well, because that's what they're fed. And they're fed by people that know what they're talking about, or supposedly should know what they're talking about. When we change the tax brackets, that changes your share. And I say your share because when you look at your pot of gold at age 65 or 70, whenever you're going to withdraw from your qualified plan, it's not all yours. You know, I mean, you could have $500,000 in there, and maybe 30% of it is the government's. That's the taxes that they owed. We can go through some of those processes a little bit later, but this is why the biggest percentage of our return is going to be based on the marginal tax bracket at the time of our withdrawal. That's going to determine how much we earn. We've seen where we can go from 6% clean to 6.83 or 6.75%. That 50% contribution, how about if it was less than 50%? It would be less of a return. So when you're talking about employees' share and contributions, it's not that much. But why don't we just take a break now and listen to somebody talk about they're honey when it comes to money.
You know the landlord rang my front door bell. I let him ring for a long, long spell. I went to the window and peeped through the blind and asked him to tell me what was on his mind. He said, "Money, honey, yes, money, honey, money, honey. If you wanna stay here with me." I was clean as a screen and so hard pressed. I called the woman that I love best. I finally got my baby about 3:30. She said, "I'd like to know what you want with me." I said, "Money, honey, money, honey, money, honey. If you wanna get along with me." She screamed and said, "What's wrong with you? From this day on, our romance is through." I said, "Tell me, baby, face to face, how could another man take my place?" She said, "Money, honey, money, honey, oh, money, honey. If you wanna get along with me, now I've learned my lesson and now I know the sun may shine and the winds may blow, women may come and women may go, but before I say I love 'em so, I want money, honey, ooh, money, honey, oh, money, honey. If you wanna get along with me, if you wanna get along, oh, it may sound funny, if you wanna get along, but I ain't jiving you, honey. If you wanna get along, you gotta give up some money if you wanna get along with me.
I'll bet a lot of you remember that from 1951. Fine rendition of Money Honey by the Drifters. Look, we're talking about the 401s, and let me share with you, I think, how qualified plans really work so that you can see the benefits and the potential issues that using a deferred retirement plan in their overall economic model. Pardon me, you do have an economic model, by the way. All right, I'm glad that's been established. It's important, I think, to know that we're not saying that the qualified plans are bad. I never said that. I never intended to say that. On the contrary, that they're very popular financial accounts that work great for a lot of people in preparing for their retirement. But the problem comes in they're overplayed with a lot of advisors and often misunderstood. The purpose of me going through all of this is to help you get your arms around how these plans really work. You know, when asked why participate, what are you in a qualified plan for, most will answer that they do it to save taxes. In fact, they may or may not save taxes over the length of time that they're contributing. But they do defer the payment of those taxes to a later date. And the tax rate that'll be used to calculate the return. So that's it. If taxes go up, who loses? You do. Taxes go down, you'll win. But you have to ask yourself, do you believe that taxes are going up in the future? Has that been... does the country need any money? Any contribution over and above the company match is a tax risk because of that. So the tax deferral of tax payments is just an apparent benefit because we don't know the future of the tax bracket we're going to be in. And there's a lot of different types of plans. So when people talk about IRAs, they might be talking about their 401. If they're talking about their 401, they might be talking about their IRA. But we still have some pension plans out there. We have stock bonus plans. These are part of the qualified plans. We have thrift plans. How about the regular IRAs? And we have SEP, Simplified Employee Pension Plans, they're called. The KEOs that started in 1963. I remember the first meeting we ever had on KEOs. $2,500 was the amount that can be deposited or qualified into that KEO plan. And of course the Roths, the tax-free accumulation under certain restrictions. HR 10s are called. How about the annuities? Defined contribution, defined benefit. These are terms that are thrown at us. And ESOPs, employee stock option plans, and 403Bs for some municipalities, some hospitals, and organizations such as that. But there's a lot of different qualified plans. But all of these plans are federal government special tax treatments for the saving. Well, when I ask people, what do you put? Why do you like to put money in a qualified plan? What do the plans do? What's the big deal with these things? Well, they do two things. They defer the tax, and they defer the tax calculation. So if we change the word, let me change the word. They defer the tax. They postpone it, my friends. Yeah. Remember the commercials, pay me now or pay me later? Well, that's what the government says in postponing the taxes, pay me later. The government says that you don't owe us the tax. It's not a tax saving. What they do say is that you could postpone the tax until later. Then you got to ask yourself, well, what tax bracket will I be in later? What does that mean, later? Do you think it's going to happen in the future? What do you think is going to happen? Whether you know it or not, you're going to have to take an educated guess, because it'll be the biggest impact on your return, on your net retirement income, that you'll be able to spend for the rest of your life from this account. The second thought, what deductions are you going to have when you start withdrawing the money? On your tax return, are you going to be able to do a Schedule A, or are you going to just take the basic deduction? You see, that's is the home going to be paid for? The children going to be out of the house? How many dependents are you going to have when you're 70 years old or 65 years old? What tax bracket are you going to be in? Do you have a business where you have business deductions and control? You see, those are the important things, and I don't stutter over it. I just say, think about it, my friends. All right? Put your hand over your chin and go, I wonder how much I'm going to have left in my account after the IRS and the government takes their share. And we can figure their share. We can look at 30 or 40, whatever they say. Is it going to be a 42%? Is it going to be a regular percentage as to what the marginal tax brackets are? By that I mean, is there going to be a new rule, administrative rule that says on these 401k or on the qualified plan distributions, is there going to be a special tax treatment? You know, they make special rules. If 70.5, 59.5. If you're working, you don't have to take the thing. Blah 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 blah. These things that they throw in. Are they going to make a rule saying all the retirement plans are going to be taxed at 38%? Yeah, they could. 40%? Yeah, they could. 50? Yeah. You see, we have no control over that. And we learned earlier that percentage that they tax us on plays the biggest implication, the biggest role in what we're going to wind up with. You know, because they postpone the tax and the tax calculation. If we were to put $10,000 in a qualified plan, 30 years, you think you would have at 6% with a 30% tax bracket, you think you'd accumulate $838,000. That's not quite accurate, though. In a 30% bracket, you'll only have $586,000. And that depends on your future tax bracket. Why? Because your partner, yeah, you have a partner, the IRS, they come in and take their share. That's the reason. That's what we're doing. We're deferring, we're postponing, and we're allowing them to take control of the greatest, perhaps the biggest nest egg that you possibly can accumulate between your working years. Because now it's up to us to accumulate that money. So when they invite you to that dance, it might be your last dance. But let's see what we could get from this group.
When you dance, be sure to hold her tight. When you dance, you'll squeeze her, yeah, with all your might. Such a thrill, oh, when she's close to you. Well, hold her tight when you dance. When you dance, you'll feel the warmth of her embrace. Then you know this feeling, yeah, is no disgrace. Such a thrill, oh, when she's close to you. Well, hold her tight when you dance. You may do a rumba or tango, mambo, calypso or strand. Lights are turned down low. You go hand in hand when you dance. Be sure to hold her tight. When you dance, you'll squeeze her, yeah, with all your might. Such a thrill, oh, when she's close to you. Well, hold her tight when you dance. To hold her tight. When you dance, you'll squeeze her, yeah, with all your might. Such a thrill, oh, when she's close to you. Well, hold her tight when you dance.
When You Dance by the Turbans from 1961. I didn't remember the Turbans at all. Those of you who are on the other side of the speaker can't really see and appreciate the professionalism that Mr. John DeVito brings to the broadcast, the program. I'm fortunate in as much as that throughout my career on the radio, has been fortunate to be associated with John DeVito from that first day up at 15:30. I think in the winter time, or it was Thanksgiving or some cold time like that, across that icy parking lot, holding or balancing a cup of coffee in my hand. Well, we could talk hours and hours and hours, and I just love to do on misinformation and qualified plans and things that people get into their head. But listen, let me just finish up. If you choose to save money in a qualified plan, 3 important things that you have to ask before doing it. What tax bracket will you be in at retirement? Your future tax bracket should affect what decisions you make today. I tried to point out at the blackboard or on your tablet the difference that a contribution makes as compared to what the marginal bracket will be during the last 10 years of accumulation, and of course the increase from a 30% marginal bracket to 40%. Just decimate, just takes away, explodes the amount of your return by at least 0.75%. Then the next question: what deductions will you have when you take out the money? It's important that you answer this question. If we could put you in a position where you have deductions when you're taking the money out, that could be significant. If we could drop your marginal bracket from 30 to 25, or from 40 to 35, that's a tremendous benefit to you. Finally, come on, folks. What's your exit strategy? Where are you going at 65 or at 70? How are you going to get the money? And how are you going to get the money out without paying all the taxes? Yeah, you know it's coming. Let me give you my phone number, 630-673-4360, or FBell Secure, FBELSECURE, as an email. If I can help you plan ahead to put yourself in a position that you'll be able to get your money from your tax deferred account, your tax postponed account, with the deductions or without paying taxes, do you want to talk about that? Would that be a conversation worth having? Well, all of our conversations with one another on this radio show are worth it to me. I enjoy talking to you and meeting with you each and every week. Your suggestions and phone calls and emails are well appreciated. I want to thank you for the support you're giving this radio station. They deserve it. It's a great program, and it's a great way of communication. But nevertheless, the days to come, let's try to help somebody. Let's try to help somebody a little bit less fortunate than we are, and let's go and make somebody smile. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next week.
When you're smiling,
When you're smiling,
when you're smiling,
when you're smiling,
and the whole world smiles with you. And when you're laughing,
when you're laughing,
oh, you're laughing.
oh, you're laughing,
When the sun comes shining through.
shining through.
When you're crying,
When you're crying,
you bring on the rain.
bring on the
Stop
rain.
your sighing.
Stop your sighing,
Won't you be happy again?
happy again.
When you're smiling,
When you're smiling,
keep on smiling.
keep on smiling.
And the world will smile with you.
Let's go now. Let's go, Sam.
You have been listening to Wealth and Wisdom with Fred Belcastro from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Friday, November the 18th, the year 2016. This broadcast was directed by John DeVita. Our special thanks to Kevin Zeflik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Chikondo. Until next time, please be safe and thanks for listening. Today's broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, November the 16th, the year 2016. Have a great day, everyone, and thanks for listening. And this is Jack Frost FM, 89.7 WRHS FM, Norwich, Illinois. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend, everyone.